Hello everyone, I'm Matt, and we're going to be looking at what's going on in America at the minute, which is crazy shizzle. Have a look.
Trump officials are also watching what is happening right now on the ground in Los Angeles. President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, is actually there on the ground. And as we've been talking about why the National Guard has been deployed, what the White House's basis is for that, we asked him about that. We're going to continue to watch what is happening.
Seriously, more Palestinian flags.
Here on the ground, keep these pictures up. But I also want you to listen to what Tom Homan's rationale was for why they have deployed the National Guard and hundreds of Marines to the scene that you're seeing now.
But that guy with the weed hat, he doesn't even know what's going on. He's just like, woke up, probably had a, and just thought, yeah, looks like fun.
Being here, what we're seeing right now,
I hate the whole foreign flag thing, just pissed me off.
Is the first time since 1965 that a president has actually activated a state's National Guard without a request coming from that state's governor. Why was that necessary here?
Well, because Governor Newsom and the Democrat leaders of California weren't were quick enough to act. I mean, I've been here since Wednesday last week to initiate an operation, and things got out of control quickly Friday night and Saturday. And the president took quick action to deploy the National Guard to protect government property that was being destroyed, protecting our agents and officers, and protecting the general public. I think the President Trump did exactly the right thing. He's trying to prevent another Minnesota from 2020, trying to prevent another Portland, Seattle tragedy. So I'm happy he deployed National Guard.
Funny though, I mean, they've been calling for ICE agents to take off the masks so you can see who they are because they think it's just a bit militant. And all these people have she's got a bloody riot shield on. And they've all got masks on. So, if you believe in what you're saying, take it off. I know some people are probably thinking, we'll get arrested, but then you're running the risk of being arrested if you're protesting. I'm not saying that's right, by the way. I'm just saying you can't have double standards. Also, if you are protesting to say these people belong in America and they're citizens and they've been in that country for a while and paying taxes, etc., why not wave the US flag? Because you're there, you want to integrate and you want to be there and you feel like you deserve to be there. Why not wave the flag of the country that you proclaim to want to be in?
Well, speaking of 2020, there was a comment that the president made then about whether or not he could deploy and activate the National Guard. I want you to listen to what he said then.
We have laws. We have to go by the laws. We can't move in the National Guard. I can call insurrection, but there's no reason to ever do that, even in a Portland case. We can't call in the National Guard unless we're requested by a governor.
The law, of course, has not changed since then. So what has?
I'm not an attorney, and all I know is I'm on calls every day with the heads of DOD and DOJ. So we got legal minds in DOJ and DOD, and DOJ are making these decisions. So I certainly think the president's acting within the confines of the law. I mean, I'm on phone calls every day, and these lawyers are making these decisions, so I stand by it.
But I think some people may look at that and say, well, one, you know the law very well. Obviously, you worked in deportations when President Obama was in office. You're now back in this role.
I know immigration law very well, but I do.
Funny because you look at these pictures and it looks like it's a protest. It's mainly peaceful, probably completely peaceful. There's nobody kicking off. Whereas you looked at the images from the other video I did, and it had car after car after car being set on fire. And there's two contrasting things there. I mean, you're not going to send out the National Guard for this scenario. You think the local law enforcement should just be able to handle it. But when they're actually setting fire to cars in the street, throwing fireworks at people, law enforcement, at what point do you say enough's enough? Because if you give people an inch, they'll take a mile. I mean, I saw it in the London riots where businesses that have been around for 100 years were set on fire because the mob would just rule. And you give people the latitude to be able to say, this is okay to set fire to a car. We're not going to stop you doing that. what's then to stop them setting fire to somebody's house or a business? And then what's next? Are you going to get people being assaulted in the streets? So where do you draw the line between these things?
I'm not an expert on constitutional law or insurrection law or national. That's out of my lane. I simply am thankful that whatever President Trump decided, that was backed up by attorneys in Department of Justice and Department of Defense. I'm just glad he deployed those National Guards here, because I think they're saving lives. I think they're protecting property.
Well, some people may look and say, if this has not been something that any president has done and hasn't happened since the 1960s, is this the worst protest that has happened since then, warranting that?
Look, I was on the ground Friday night where hundreds and hundreds of protesters who were protesters all of a sudden became criminals. They breached a federal building that had to be pushed back, where officers were at risk. Detainees that we had arrested were at risk. Officers have been injured. Property has been destroyed. So yeah, if the Democratic leadership wasn't taking action, President Trump stepped up and took the action. I've been on the ground. I've seen the worst of the worst down there, so I'm glad President Trump reacted to save lives and property.
Yeah, I was just in LA on Friday as well. But on this front and what the president's plans are in the administration overall, have you been personally involved in conversations about invoking the Insurrection Act?
No, again, I'm here running a Title VIII immigration operation. I'm not involved in discussions, but I do know every day a conversation happens with the leadership of DOJ, DHS, and DOD on a decision going forward. I think the decisions on deployment of the National Guard and any other deployment of DOD is a decision being made by the White House along with the Department of Justice, DOD. I know those calls are happening every day.
But you haven't personally been involved in conversations about invoking the Insurrection Act. Is that what you're saying?
I have not.
Yeah. Seems to me that for scenes like that, you're not going to invoke the Insurrection Act. And I need to read up on it. I'm a Brit. I don't know the law in the US. But it sounds to me like it needs to be an extreme situation to enact the Insurrection Act. And I don't think that's going to be the case in the scenario there that I've just saw. The other one where they're actually setting fire to cars and properties in the street, absolutely, I think they would. But again, you're going to have this small element of, you have a protester with 1,000 people, and all it takes is 10 people in there to start throwing things and escalating the situation, and before you know it, you got the mob rule, and it always happens. But nobody's died, as far as I'm aware, yet. If they did, I think we'll see it escalate massively. Yeah, I'll keep apprised on what's going on. Let me know what you think. But yeah, thoughts and prayers with you in America. See you on the next one.